Hello and welcome to the Goldenrod Podcast. I'm Ben, and as always, I'm joined by fellow Pokemon enthusiast Conor to bring you some of the latest and greatest Pokemon news and a few laughs along the way. This week, we're discussing the early previews of the Pokemon Sleep Beta and a strange occurrence when Mew goes against Mewtwo in a raid battle. And in our Devil's Advocate section, we'll be arguing whether Game Freak should add a new Pokemon typing. As always, you can jump to a topic using the timestamp in the description below. And Conor, before we go any further, I have something that I need to admit, and I don't know how people are going to feel about it.
You've not been doing like you said you would, sending me the timestamp so I can put them into the YouTube description. Is it that? Because I'm still getting chewed out for that every single week.
I completely forgot. To be fair, I did it once and then completely forgot about it. Thank you for giving me a kick at the bum. I will attempt to do that. But no, that is not what I am confessing right now. We've spoken about Pokemon Go a lot in the past and our issues with Pokemon Go that are ongoing and in the past. I kind of bought the Shiny Mew event.
Oh, you bought the Shiny Mew?
I did. I thought I was just sat there because I've had a new iPhone. Okay, because the old iPhone was just rubbish. I had to charge it about 4 times a day. To be fair, it was like 7 or 8 years old, so I was overdue a new one. And got all my apps transferred, playing on Pokemon Go, and it looks really good on the new iPhone. And I thought I need a reason to come back into this game to just see if it sparks that kind of enjoyment of it. And if it doesn't, then I think I'm done with it. And so I thought, you know what? After the conversation we had last week and the fact that I do eventually want to complete a Shining Living Dex, I thought, well, if I'm going to start anywhere, I start with Kanto because I've already got a good 30 or 40 of those shiny Pokemon, and Mew was always going to be one of the hard ones to get. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet. And so I bought the ticket. I'm still on the first catalogue of steps that you have to do in order to unlock it. It's going to take a very long time. But I'm really enjoying Pokemon Go at the moment.
For our audience at home, explain to them exactly what this new Mew event that has only come out this week since the last podcast is.
Literally, all it is you've got 4 steps of challenges, and as a result of completing it, the main thing you get is a shiny Mew encounter in Pokemon Go, as well as, other virtual things such as a t-shirt. I think you get XP, Stardust, lucky eggs, a few other handful of things that you get as well that I'm not that fussed about. I'm mainly just doing it for the shiny Mew.
But and this is a free event?
No.
No, it's a paid event.
No, it's a paid event.
How much did you pay for it?
I think it was £5.
Yeah, okay. So it's about $5, £5, depending on where you're at. Which you have effectively just told me the exact value of a shiny Pokemon. It's about £5. Whether you buy it online hacked or you get an official one through Pokemon Go whenever they want to give it to you. So they're basically just entering the game. They're like, hey, people are making money off this. Why don't we just sell shiny Pokemon?
Yeah, and it works. I've held off on this for so long in investing money in Pokemon Go because the last time I invested money was the launch week. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'll just buy some of the coins because because at the time it was from a company that no one really knew about. Like it was a really niche, group of people that knew about Niantic. It was a game company that I enjoyed, and I wasn't back into Pokemon at this point. I just thought, oh yeah, go on then. Like Pokemon Go just hit all the right buttons in that initial release window, so I splashed some money on it, and then I paid nothing in the 6-7 years it's been out, and I thought, fine, sorry, I'll bite the bullet and I'll do this. I mean, to be fair, I'm not getting the shiny Mew anytime soon. It is going to take me a while to get it. I'm just going through the steps here. Like step 2 is catch 30 normal type Pokemon, 35 type Pokemon, Warp Pokemon, so on and so forth. And then in the fight, so step 3 to actually get the Mew. Reach level 40, which I've nearly done. Spin 151 Pokestops. Not too difficult.
You need to be level 40 before they'll give it to you.
Yeah.
So you could come over to Pokemon Go for this event, pay for this event, and then not unlock that shiny Mew you've paid for
It gets
10
worse.
years?
It gets worse. So one of the first steps that you have to complete is in the Platinum Kanto medal. So for those people that do
in Kanto, right?
Get all 150 Kanto Pokemon, which I've had that for a very long time. Not too difficult. Because I've been playing it for that long, a lot of the Pokemon have cycled through the regions, Mewtwo from the raids. There are people online complaining, and rightly so, because they have 149 Pokemon, and the one Pokemon they need isn't available in their region. It's available in another part of the world.
Yeah, I can't get Tauros or Mr. Mime or Kangaskhan, one of the above.
Spot on. And people are angry and frustrated about it, which rightly so. The Pokemon, you should be able to. There should be some kind of event where maybe, okay, if you buy this ticket, we'll drop them into your spawn pool. Maybe like there needs to be some way to help those players out, other than getting a ticket and a plane and.
See, my question is, because they're selling this as buy this ticket, get Shiny Mew. Does anywhere on the Pokemon website, does anywhere selling this tell you the steps that are going to be in the sort of master quests? Or have you only been able to find that out through online? Because that would be incredibly upsetting. As I say, as somebody who doesn't play all the time, okay, I've picked it up over the years, enjoyed it for the time I've had it, and then had to put it down again. I'm not that high of a level. I think I'm like level 19, level 20, something like that. And that's me putting as much time into this game as I feasibly could. If I wanted to come back to the game now, because I went, you know what, a shiny Mew is worth $5, £5 to me, and it'll bring me back to Pokemon Go, I would then be furious if I found out that it was a case of like, well, no, that's just a carrot on a very, very long stick for you.
So it's not in the Pokemon Go app. So I'm just in the news section of the Pokemon Go app, which basically they give you like the headline of this is what's happening. Here's a bit of the details. If you want to read more, go to the blog, and it links through to the Pokemon Go website. So I'm just on there. Anniversary party. I'm just seeing if it says anywhere about the steps. It doesn't look like it. You and Mew. No, not on there. So, yes, you would have to go outside of Pokemon Go to get that information. And typically what happens is that, from my experience, it's not like the news comes out of, oh, okay, these are all the steps that you'll need to do. Tickets come out in the next week or two. It's typically the event goes live, and then somehow, I don't know if it's data miners then release that, okay, here's the full list of steps. So you're right. Some people might look at it and go, oh, £5, shiny Mew. Yeah, sign me up. Oh, I now need to do all this. And step 3, by the way, of step 4, I didn't finish what they were. So there's another one, catch 1,510 Pokemon. And the final one, walk 151 kilometers. So, yeah, for people that might not be able to easily get out and about.
I mean, at this point, we've said it over and over again. At this point, that's not Niantic's audience.
No,
they've made it very clear that they
have.
We don't want you to play this game if you're not out and about. That's the experience they want to create, regardless of what that means for the individual.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with all the points that you've said, and like I must admit that I'm enjoying it though. I'm enjoying having a reason to really get back into Pokemon Go and connect with virtual people. I say virtual people, real people in a virtual way. Will this keep me entertained long term? Probably not. Once I get shiny Mew, I'll probably go, oh, okay, right, this is what it is again. But it's helped me to jump over that hurdle to get to level 40. I'm like 100,000 XP off, which I will easily get in the next few weeks, maybe a month max. Would I recommend buying this?
You've got all the information
money.
now.
Yeah, your money.
That's the way I see it. Now that we have done our duty, which I believe is Game Freak, well, not Game Freak, but Niantic's duty and the Pokemon Company's duty to inform you as to exactly what this event is. If you now think it's worth £5, $5, enjoy, crack on. It's not worth it to me because I will never ever see that Mew.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. And I did remember before I bought the ticket, I did look it up, but this was a while back. And I looked at it and went, oh, yeah, that's feasible for me. I could do that. Not quickly, but I could do it. And then now that I'm close to completing step 1, I was like, oh, what are the rest of them? I was like, yeah, still confident I can get them. And like I say, it's given me an excuse to play Pokemon Go again. Whether or not that is long term, we shall see. Let's move on to our first question, actually, which kind of jumps off the back of both that, what we just discussed, and our conversation last week about shiny Pokemon and whether or not they've lost their value. So regular listener King Nido over on YouTube has asked, since you glossed over hacked Pokemon, what is your opinion on them? Because obviously hacked Pokemon do play a role in the question that we discussed last week, but we didn't really touch on it because that feels like a completely...
It's a different topic entirely.
Yeah. And we don't want to jump too much into this because we have discussed hacked Pokemon in the past. In terms of what's my opinion on them, I don't really feel, on an individual level, I don't really think it breaks the game. I think that Game Freak more and more has added easier ways to get shiny Pokemon, get Pokemon in general, to get them to the different requirements that you need to in order to get them competitively viable, whether or not that's, easier to hatch them, easier to teach them egg moves, easier to raise IVs, EVs, give them the natures that you want. They've made it easier and easier to do that, but it's still not quick as Showdown, for example. Yep. And some people's way around that might be just to go, okay, right, I've done my research on Showdown. I've played enough games with this Pokemon. I'm just going to hack it into my mainline Scarlet and Violet game, and I'm confident that I'm not going to get caught by it. Like, fine, it doesn't affect me. Like, you're just saving time ultimately, and I know that's my view, and I know that there will be people that disagree with that. But that's where I fall on it. I can understand the issues with them though, but that's where I fall on that side of the argument.
So for me, if you're playing a single player experience, do whatever you want. Yeah. It upsets me how many of them are just sent unwittingly. So if you do like Wonder Trades or something, you're almost definitely getting hacked Pokemon, which you've then got to be very careful of to not send out or not trade to people if you don't want to give them hacked Pokemon. You've got to make sure that you're not breeding with them, because even Pokemon bred from cheated Pokemon are technically cheated Pokemon. Yeah. So
really, can the flags detect that?
Supposedly.
Okay.
Supposedly. Obviously the flags aren't picking up on most hacked Pokemon as is, but as rules as written, you can't use a cheated Pokemon for anything, whether you use it in battle or you use it for breeding. My counter argument to that whole thing, though, is it's steroids in baseball. Just let everybody do it. We know people are doing it. We know people are doing it, and if you want to say it's unfair for them to do it, well, then just let everybody do it. That's the way I see it. Game Freak should just implement create a Pokemon for battles system.
Yeah.
Especially, as I say, we've got Terrapagos coming out, and there was that whole theory going around that it wasn't actually time travel or anything like that. It was an imagination machine. Okay, let him imagine me up a Pokemon team that I want to play with. Why not? What harm does it do?
No, agreed. So I don't know if you've ever... So Showdown has a function where you can have hacked mons. Have you ever played that?
What is it? Anything goes.
Yeah, anything goes. And I remember when I live streamed a long time ago and I was facing against people that were watching me, and someone said, let's go on the anything goes. I was like, yeah, go on then. And I got swept by a Magikarp, 6 Magikarps, max speed. hyper beams, just wiped my team. And like, because I went into that knowing that anything goes, I didn't feel cheated. And I laughed so much at that. I really enjoyed it. And I think there is an argument to be made that, like, create a competition where it is anything goes. Like, let people go daft, let people go silly, because then the people that want to hack and go crazy with their mons will filter down that avenue. Yeah. And then the people that want to do it I want to do it with Pokemon that aren't hacked, and I want the standard rules that we've currently got. They've still got their avenue in their channel to play it that way.
I mean, you've already got borrowed teams.
Yeah.
You've already got, I'm playing with a team I didn't build, but somebody else has built for me. Why can't we have it where it's like, well, I didn't build this team, but I'm going to change it slightly? You know, as you say, they're making it easier and easier and easier. And I think what they should really do is just go, just scrap it. Just give them everything. And again, if you want to hold it back for the official tournaments, fine. If you want official tournament Pokemon to be bred properly, because you believe it's part of the skill of building a team, sure, you're well within your rights to do that. But if you want to combat hacked Pokemon, make it easy for people to create the Pokemon they want. It's like the same argument you make against Netflix and piracy. Netflix was a great way to stop piracy for a long time because it had most things you wanted to watch on there anyway. It was really cheap, and it was actually easier to go on there and watch the film that you wanted to watch than go online and download it. What happens? Oh, the prices go up. Everybody starts splitting all the stuff off. Piracy rises. That's it. Just
you make it Pokemon. Yeah. Make it simple as possible for people, and that's the default avenue that they will go down. I still maintain what they should do, and I can't see them doing it, is that they should separate the two. So you've got the multiplayer aspect. Either I still don't know, and I need to look into this, like how Showdown is still running. Does it have the backing of Game Freak, of the Pokemon Company, of Nintendo? Like, how is that still going? I don't know, but my mindset would either buy it, shut it down, and create your own version, which I don't want to do because Showdown's free and it's fun. And then make a multiplayer version of, if you want to do multiplayer with competitive Pokemon, here's the battle simulator and build the team mechanic, knock yourselves out. But if you want the single player experience and only the single player experience, it's over here. Like Legends Arceus. Like, you can't say that Legends Arceus suffered because it didn't have the multiplayer side of things. If anything, it was better because they could try something new with the battle gimmick of, you know, you can do agile or strong, I believe they were. Like, you could do something unique and innovative in each mainline Pokemon game, but you've still got the multiplayer side over here. And that's how I would like to see it done moving forward, because then it just removes Hackmons. Because why would you need Hackmons anymore? Because you can just build your Pokemon and build your team, and then it still has that check at the end going, okay, we're just making sure you've not given it a nature that it can't learn or moves that it can't learn, and you've given it the right IVs, EVs, whatever those checks are. Like, but as always, Game Freak just always seems behind in their decisions, or they seem to be very adamant and stubborn in the way they do things.
Well, it's the same as, okay, so we were talking about, do you remember when we were talking about how Game Freak said Nuzlocke were bad and things like that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily the case. It actually comes down to the fact that they really just don't like people downloading the games and not going out and buying the games and hacking the games and doing ROM hacks and things like that. But what's one of the first things people do when they hack a Pokemon game?
Well, they randomize it?
Randomize it.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, sure, there's an argument for Pokemon not putting a randomizer on their game because it's not the experience they want to build. But why is there no option for it to be a new game plus? I beat the game, I played through it the way you want me to, I now have an option to play it through a different way for replay value. Again, if you want to combat this stuff, don't just start being like, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. You go, I hear what you want, I will give it to you. If you still give me money, I will give you the things you're looking for. You won't have to look for them elsewhere.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think the issue is that, like, if you go on YouTube and you're in this community, you would probably think like randomizers and Nuzlocke are a massive part of Pokemon, and they are, but compared to the amount of actual sales and people that just buy them, play them, and don't know about that community, we're just a drop in the ocean. So that might be an argument as to why they aren't doing any of that, because like, well, why would we implement something that we know only a handful of people would use? But the problem with that is, I bet there are people out there that don't know what randomizers and Nuzlocke are, but if they did, if they were exposed to that in a mainline game, they would go, oh, okay, this is new, this is innovative, this is interesting, even though it's been done before, but it's never been done by Game Freak, and I would love to see them implement that.
I don't know if I agree with that statement of it's only a mechanic that a handful of people will use, because they've always had things like that. Pokemon contests were a mechanic that only a handful of people will use compared to the people who buy the game. Pokemon and Me, Super Training, the online feature, literally the thing that we build most of these games around, is a mechanic that the vast majority of people who pick up these games are not going to use. So I think Pokemon already caters for such a wide audience that, I don't know, I feel like they could throw these things in there. I feel like they could hire one person to put these things in there very quickly.
Agreed.
Considering that like the games get leaked, what, a week or two before the games come out, and by the time the games come out, people are doing randomizers.
Oh, that blew my mind with BDSP. Like, before I even got the copy, it was like, oh yeah, there's a randomizer available. I was like, wait, like, how? And that just like, and I don't know if that speaks to, part of me thinks that speaks to like the community Pokemon has, the modding scene. Like, why would you not want to tap into that?
Yeah.
Like, these people are doing this for free in their spare time. Like, surely you can tap into that and monetize it. Like, so why would you not? And, you know, we're not privy to the goings on behind Game Freak, unfortunately, but I do feel like they need to, more than ever, really think about, okay, how do we step up Pokemon? And it just feels like the answers are already out there, but they're not willing to embrace them. But, yeah. Bit of a tangent there, as always, King Nido, but thank you so much for the question. And as always, if you want to ask a question or send us a comment, links in the description down below. Let's move on to our first piece of news this week around a potential Mew versus Mewtwo raid?
In theory, yes. So a user by the name Anubis on Twitter was looking through the script of the new update, so the actual coding, and recognized that there was a strange line in there that read, "Mew is going to go all out against this formidable opponent." I imagine that's the voice it's written in.
It was a very beautiful voice. I love that.
Thank you very much. So, having seen that, they kind of assumed that Mew was going to... they also saw that Mew was getting a bunch of buffs underneath that. So this line would read, and then Mew would get a bunch of buffs. Wasn't exactly sure what it was about. After doing a bunch of work, they were able to hack a Mewtwo into the game over the top of a Chestnut raid. So that it was a Mewtwo raid, and they brought Mew to this raid. So it was a 7-star Mewtwo raid that they brought Mew to. When Mew entered the raid, that line came up. Mew was going to go all out against this formidable opponent. And it did indeed get a bunch of buffs. Got 50% HP boost, got a 20% stat boost to all its other stats. We then found out that this stat boost is then not cleared by any of the abilities. So when it does like resets, those boosts don't go away. And every Mew that gets brought to this event gets those stat boosts.
Okay.
So you can bring a team of 4 Mews to this Mewtwo event and get stat boosts on all of them, in theory. Okay, this event is not actually out yet. This is what they have been able to simulate so far. Once beaten, Mewtwo, At the time, we don't know if you're able to catch it because the actual event's not out. But what we do know is that afterwards, Mew, the Mew that you brought to the fight, gets the mightiest mark on itself. So what you would... The mightiest mark actually reads, a Pokemon caught in a 7-star raid. And I'm pretty sure that with the latest update, it got changed to remove that statement of caught in a 7-star raid. So that means that if you bring a Mew to this Mewtwo raid, Mew can get the mightiest mark. That might mean that we're not actually able to catch Mewtwo. We don't know. The other thing we don't know is whether you're going to be able to get this on multiple Mews per account. So say you've got the Mew that you brought over from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. You've got the Mew that you brought over from Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. And you've got the Mew that you brought over from Pokemon Go. Or multiple Mews you've brought over from Pokemon Go. Even your shiny one. Are you going to be able to get mightiest marks on each of them by doing this raid over and over and over again? Or is it limited to one? We don't know. The other one, and the big question I have off of this is a different raid style than we've had up to this point. Do you think there's going to be an event attached to this? Or do you think you're going to have to bring over your own Mew?
Ooh, okay. So, because I don't know, to be quite honest with you, because like Game Freak typically, while they are happy to hand out legendaries, mythical Pokemon, they've always been very careful about distributing them, because I kind of feel like what they want to do is they don't want mythicals to be that easy to get, because then whenever they do events, they want people to go out of their way. So I'm thinking back to the last time we got all the mythicals released in the UK in concurrently was I think the 25-year anniversary or 20-year anniversary, I can't remember, and we had to go into game to get the codes.
Okay.
So every month you would go in, you'd get a code, and then you'd redeem it for that mythical.
Is that on X and Y?
That was, I think it was. Yeah, actually, yes, it was. Oh, that's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Whoa! Because I remember going into game and going, can I have one of the codes? And depending on who you get, you'd get people going, yeah, one code per customer, or you might get lucky and get somebody going, how many codes do you want? And I was just there going, how many can I have? So I got I think 3 of the is it Volcanion?
Yep.
Volcanion. So I got 3 of them. So I managed to get most of them, but then some of them I only got 1, depending on who I went in with. But I guess where I'm going with that is it makes me think that I could see them giving away Mew as an event, because it's been that long since people have had the chance for Mew.
Mm-hmm.
Because the easiest ways to get it
without paying for it,
without paying for it, is there was a free Mew event a long time ago on Pokemon Go, but I'm pretty sure that if you're new to Pokemon Go, it doesn't bring in past events.
Right.
So you're not going to be able to get it that way. Let's Go, you have to buy the Pokeball controller, which I don't know if you can get that firsthand anymore. So that rules out that, and it's not free anyway. So actually, it has been a while since we've had.
Or you get, I think, a Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, if you had Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee save data on your game, on your console, you got it.
I wonder if that still works. I'd imagine it does, because it's an update. It was an update and it wasn't a code. So I'd imagine that is probably the only one that still works. But regardless,
there's an argument of that not being free because you need another game to get it.
We need 2 games.
That's what I mean. Sorry. If you had Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, you can't just get the Mew. You need another game for it.
Yeah, and if you've only got Scarlet and Violet, you need to buy 2 games, which, let's be honest with you, like, Nintendo games hold their value, so it's not cheap either. So I think there's an argument to be made there that because it's been that long since we've had an easily accessible Mew, that as part of this, we might get it potentially as you have to catch it as the first step of this. So before you go for the Mewtwo raid, there's also Mew raids going on. Or, a week before, month before, whatever it is. Or they give it away free in mystery gift. So I think there's an argument to be made that they do give it away. But this is Game Freak, and they've been very... It feels like X and Y was just a really good time where they gave away a load of free Pokemon. I don't think we're there anymore.
Okay, here's where I'm at on this. There is an event here. They have clearly set something up as Mew versus Mewtwo. It would be odd, not unreasonable, because it's Game Freak and you never know. It would be odd to me if they just left that there in case you brought a Mew. So then part of me thinks like they want you to have a Mew for this raid. Which, again, to me, means, they could be trying to skim people and be like, go get that $5 one. Go play Pokemon Go and get that $5 one. But again, this raid is going to come out within this update. We don't know if it's going to be around forever. Probably not. It's a 7-star raid. Which means what? Are you supposed to complete the Pokemon Go event before this raid comes out?
That's not happening.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Right? So... where are you supposed to get this Mew from? Yes, there's a couple of other ones you can have legitimately, but I think it's easier if they just give you one. Now, I don't want a mystery gift. I think if you're going to go through the efforts of putting an event in the game around the first mythical, the first legendary going head to head, make it a story point.
And they did that in the past.
They should, like the Shaman events. When in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, it wasn't huge, but there was a little bit of story there. There was a little bit of talking to people and learning things and having a little event. We haven't seen that in Scarlet and Violet yet, and I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, while I do enjoy the mystery gift mechanic, because it's an easy way to get Pokemon or items into the game as a freebie. I don't think that should be the default for everything, because like Mew, for example, is such a rare and unique Pokemon with this backstory and this history and lore that the games don't like. Let's be honest with you. Like, when was the last time that we got to see any of the lore around Mew in the games? Well, it was Gen 1.
Gen 3.
Was it? What happened in Gen 3?
Fire Red, Leaf Green, we had Faraway Island.
Yes.
We had an actual event from you.
Yeah. So
yeah, but that's the point, is it's been that long since we've had an actual event.
Yeah. And what you could do is, like, you've already got... So when I think of Mew, what I typically go to in my head is Cinnabar Island, the mansion, and just how dilapidated it is, and finding these strung out diary entries around the place. We've got the equivalent of...
Sorry, just need to clarify. I said Fire Red, Leaf Green. I'm pretty sure it's Emerald. Someone will kick off otherwise.
Okay, but either way, Generation 3, very long time ago, several consoles ago. But, like, so yeah, when I think of Mew and, Cinnabar Island and all that stuff, we've already got the equivalent of that in Scarlet and Violet in terms of the professor's labs in Area Zero. You could quite easily modify them so the rooms have changed slightly, and there's an extra journal on them that details, the different professors. And like, while we were down here, like, a mysterious Pokemon kept following us around. Blah blah blah. You get down to the bottom of Area Zero. There's Mew, and don't get me wrong, that's lazy, but at least it's better than a mystery gift.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, give us that, so that then we've actually put in some effort to get this Pokemon and track it down, and then it feels earned. Like you saying, like, the Arcanine that you didn't download from Mystery Gift, and I can't blame you, because it's just like, well, what's, like, it's just there. It doesn't feel earned. Like, I've had Pokemon through Mystery Gift that are rare, shiny, whatever, and you just get them. You're just like, oh, okay. Like it just doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel like that moment of, wow, I got this Pokemon, and I just cannot believe the series of events that got me here. And all we get is it's a box that opened, and yay, a little jingle. Like, give us something for this event.
As you say, they're mythical Pokemon. I want to be part of that Pokemon's myth. I want to have a mythical story that goes along with it. But maybe that's just me.
But when was the last time we had that, though? Like, that's
okay. I want to say Heart Gold, Soul Silver. They did the big one. They did the Celebi event, where you go back in time with Celebi and see Giovanni, and you see Silver as a kid and things like that. That's a big one. I'm not sure past that. I think Gen 5, they really did start just handing Pokemon out.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if there was a big Genesect event, which would have been the big one. I don't know if they just gave it to people in black and white.
Oh, I can't
double check.
Oh, he's doing the little fact check, which I never do. That's why.
Give Pokemon. When you obtain a Genesect from a special event, if you take this to P2 Labs, you will find a scientist in there. He will tell you about how he was the one who researched Genesect and modified it to aid. So, not really.
I love that, modified. You mean genetically altered? Yeah. Come on.
But failed to win the approval of N and his methods, he will challenge you to a battle. If you defeat him, he will gift you 2 special drives. These items attached to Genesect. So, it depends on your classification. Technically, Gen 5 had events. Yeah.
And we're now in Gen 9. And Mythicals
but it's less so you do an event to get the Pokemon, and it's you get a Pokemon and do an event.
Either way round, I'm okay with that.
That's what I'm saying, is that might be what they're doing here with Mew, where it's like the Mewtwo raid is the event, you get given a Mew to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's just not quite enough for me.
Well, there's no story there, is there? Because you love your story, your lore, your background, and giving you a Pokemon to then use it to fight another Pokemon isn't background, it isn't story, it's not lore, it is literally just, he is a gift to give you a way to earn another gift. Like, it just feels lazy.
Yeah.
Oh well. Anyway, that's Game Freak, sleeping on the games. Speaking of sleeping on the games, Pokemon Sleep, which was announced back in 2019, is nearly here. So we don't have an actual date for launch yet. However, there's been a beta that is going on at the time of recording this, but when it comes out, the beta will have ended. It was only available for Android users in a select number of countries, and it ended on July the 13th. However, a number of reporters for different companies, including IGN, got the chance to try it out. So what I was thinking is, I'm just going to break down how it works, Connor, if you don't already know this. And then
I actually don't. I've managed to avoid it. Other than seeing little pictures of the Pokemon that you get.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay. So it's no surprise that you lay your phone down and it will record your sleep. Okay. And then when you wake up the next day, you will get rewards based on the quality of sleep that you've received. So the longer you sleep, and the less moving around and all that kind of stuff, you will get up to 100 points. However, the 100 points, maximum 100 points, are only available if you manage, and I can't believe this, 8.5 hours sleep. So I'm not getting that anytime soon. I operate on about 7 hours sleep at the maximum. But what then basically happens is that your Snorlax basically gets stronger depending on the amount of sleep you get. And that is over the course of a week. So over the course of the week, this Pokemon will improve. And the stronger your Snorlax gets, the more likely that stronger Pokemon are going to appear the next day. And you can then add them to your team. And then at the end of the week, you move to another island and you get a new Snorlax. And then to get these Pokemon, improve these other Pokemon that you get. You can feed them various berries and cookable dishes, feed them during the day. Few interesting tidbits. The app needs to be open and your phone unlocked throughout the night. That's going to drain your battery. It records your sleep as well, but that recording only lasts, I've got it written here somewhere, I think it's 24 hours. Oh, I had that written down. It was either 24 hours or a week that I saw, but either way, it records your noise throughout the night, but it's not shared outside the app. And the only reason I know about this is one of the reviewers said that it recorded him going to the toilet in the night, and that's how he suddenly found out that it was recording you. But apparently it uses this recording to get a measure on the quality of your sleep. So that's the basics of how it will work. It's free to play, but of course, there's microtransactions, so you can pay money to get different camping equipment, biscuits to feed mons, and incenses, so all about attracting Pokemon to your base in order to catch them. And bizarrely, it also offers a subscription model as well. So I'm just going to read this out. Okay, so these features include a diary to record notes, unlimited access to your sleep data and statistics, which is otherwise limited to 30 days, extra points each day.
Sorry, roll back.
Okay, so
30 days access standard to my data.
Your data, your personal data, which they will no doubt sell on.
So,
in some
whether
way,
they sell it on or whether they use it for their own purposes, we literally can't stipulate on that, and we get in trouble if we do. But they're obviously holding it because at any point I can pay for that.
Yes,
and I understand that what they're saying is like, well, we'll give you a graph, but if you want a bigger scale graph, you pay a subscription.
Yep. But you also get monthly and tri-monthly lavish, and if you're listening on iTunes, whatever, or Spotify, I'm saying lavish in quotation marks, rewards, but they've not been stated what they are yet. Subscription plans are offered at $7.99 a month or $39.99 for 6 months.
Okay.
So the reason I wanted to bring this up is to get your thoughts on this, because when I been doing my research for Pokemon Sleep, the more I've read about it, the more I've gone, this is interesting. It's more than I expected Pokemon Sleep to be. But then they've gone and ruined it, of course, by doing what all mobile games do nowadays, of including all these microtransactions to try and get as much money.
Let's not forget that there's also a add-on device that you can buy for this.
So go on.
There's the Pokeball Plus,
right?
That you can buy and you can place on your pillow instead of your phone.
Oh, okay.
Because they announced that in the last Pokemon Direct. The Pokeball Plus. It was a stupid name, and that's the main reason I remember it, which annoys me greatly because it means that the marketing is working.
Because, hold on, is there a Pokemon Plus?
Yeah, so the Pokeball Plus is what you had for the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee.
Yeah.
And now this is the Pokeball Plus. The Pokemon Go Plus. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So it's better than the Plus? How is it better than the Plus?
It's an entirely different device.
Why would you put Plus then? That just implies that it's right.
Let me look up the Pokemon Go Plus, because I thought the Pokeball Plus was the no, okay. So the Pokemon Go Plus was the Bluetooth wristband that they did.
Oh, right. Okay.
Basically,
so it's an improvement of that.
It was a tracking wristband.
Okay, that makes more sense why it's called Plus then. I was thinking the when you said
so was I.
I thought the Pokeball, I was like, okay, that's really weird design choice by them, but they must have a reason. So so that makes sense about the Plus because it's a tracker, so maybe you don't need to leave your app on phone unlocked. You can leave it locked and have this, which kick in the teeth that you have to pay extra for that. And let's be honest with you.
Here you go. I'll read it for you. With Pokemon Go, use this accessory to spin Pokestops or throw Pokeballs automatically. Great Balls and Ultra Balls too. You can catch Pokemon without even pressing a button. Link in the Pokemon Go Plus with Pokemon Go will also let you take on special research to catch a Snorlax with a nightcap. Because, of course, it also works as a tracker for Pokemon Sleep. So that's £50, by the way. Sorry, did I not mention that bit? That's £50 already.
50 quid.
So
wow. Okay.
That's not enough. They've had to add $7.99 to have access to your own data. Not infuriating at all. I have lots of thoughts on this. One is it looks adorable. I've been having a look at a lot of the Pokemon that you can get on them. All the artwork is fantastic. The music in it is gorgeous. You also get little entries about the Pokemon. So I was reading one earlier that basically said that Totodile line falls asleep, but only does so with half of its body at a time. It's like a flamingo. So it always keeps one eye open.
Oh,
beautiful. As somebody who has sat here for years saying, like, give me more lore, give me more about these Pokemon just living in the wild. That's great. As somebody, though, who uses my phone to watch things or listen to podcasts or stuff to get me off to sleep, I don't know if this is going to be something I'm just going to have open next to me. It seems I need more on this. I need somebody to do this for longer.
So what I was going to suggest is we review it. And the reason why is because even though I am annoyed with some of the information here, mainly about the price and the data, if you took that out of it, I'm really fascinated by this and how it'd work and the gameplay loop of it as well.
Yep.
And the fact that Pokemon Go, like, for me, like, when it came out, it got me out and about, which used to be quite difficult, like getting me out and about. Oh, I'm going to go for a walk and find these Pokemon. And my sleep is terrible. I don't get enough sleep. I know I don't get enough sleep. Will this help me to go, oh, I'm going to go sleep? Okay. I'm going to go sleep early.
On that note, though, I do want to put a sort of PSA out there to any of our audience members. It has been shown statistically that sleep trackers aren't necessarily the best thing for making you sleep better. And in fact, in a lot of ways, they do the very opposite. Because if you wake up in the morning and you feel well rested, you feel like you got your 7.5 hours sleep, which is enough for you to go, oh, a bit stiff because I'm getting older now, but I can get up and face the day. And you look at your phone and it tells you only got 40 points. You suddenly think you've had a bad night's sleep.
Yes.
And
that's a good point.
That is a real effect that we as humans take on, and that can make you feel worse about the sleep that you had and feel worse for the day. It is a factor, and I just want to throw it out there. These are not... It is being sold to you as a healthy thing. It might not be the healthiest thing for you.
Yeah, I think... Let's be honest, like, first and foremost... It's this is the cynic in me. It's not about you being healthy as an individual from Game Freak's point of view. Sorry, not Game Freak's, but the Pokemon Company's point of view. From their point of view, it's how can we make more money? Because it's ultimately a company, and they will put that before. And this is the cynic in me. They'll put that before you as an individual and your health. And like, if you do want to improve your sleeping pattern. Let's be honest with you. A Pokemon game.
You wouldn't have your phone near you.
Well, no, that as well. Like, and like, I still maintain that, like, funnily enough, the best sleep I ever used to get was at university because I did have, funnily enough, a sleeping tracker on there, but it didn't. What it was looking for was your different. You know, you go through cycles when you sleep, like different levels, and it would you set I think it was a 30-minute time slot, but it might have been 45-hour time slot, and it would turn the alarm
wake you
on.
up at some point in there when it was best for you to wake up because you were out of REM sleep and things like that. Yes, those kind of things are great.
Yeah.
Does this do
this? This does not do that, it seems like.
Right, okay.
So I do want to give this a try and do a little bit of a review on it because I'm really curious about it, but I am skeptical about this. And I am wondering, is this just going to be a fad and, okay, yeah, it gets a bit of a hit when it comes out and then people just trail off?
I think for most people
Agreed.
it will be because we as people tend to pick things up and drop them. Could this help some people? I don't know. It depends what data it offers you. Because the thing is, again, if I'm going to use a sleep tracking app, and I understand that this allows you to collect Pokemon and gives you information about them and all the rest of it. But if I'm using this as a sleep tracking app, I want more than this night I got 60 and this night I got 30. That's arbitrary. I need to know what your data sets are. I need to know what these values mean. What are you measuring? Is it how much I'm moving at night? Is it how much I'm snoring? Like, if you're recording that, am I going to get a Snorlax to be like, oh, you snored through the night? You may actually want to look into going to a doctor about that because it's really loud. You know, what level are we at here?
And how does this work with me? I share a bed with my wife. Like, how does
Who's
that
it measuring?
Work? Well, that's it. Like,
you could have it on your pillow. Well,
but
I'm not being funny. Like, when I have been sleeping bad, my pillows aren't on the bed by the morning.
Oh no, they get thrown off.
Yeah. So I've got to smash my phone up to use this app.
Yeah. See, this is why I want to review it, because I have so many questions and it's nagging at me and I want to know the answers and I want to know more about it. And unfortunately, because there is no, and if there is, I haven't found it. But all I found so far are previews.
It is an official beta now.
Yeah, which is why I haven't found a review yet. And like, I don't know if I'm going to get reviews of this from my typical gaming news sources. Mm-hmm. So I just want to know more about this. And I'm not going to lie, I'll probably review it, try it, and then go, okay, that was fun, but not for me. But I've just got this itch from it that I need to scratch. But in terms of when it comes out, and I said that, you know, we don't know yet, we haven't got an official date. IGN has come out and said summer 2023. When that is, we don't know. However,
next month. That's all you got left, right?
Yeah. However, I've got a quote here. Fans suspect it'll release close to Pokemon Go's Catching Some Z's event beginning July the 15th, which will feature shiny variations of Abra, Drowsy, Galarian Slowpoke, a few others, including Snorlax wearing a nightcap that you mentioned earlier on. So, probably getting it this month or next.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do a review on this.
I look forward to seeing what you have to say on it. I value your opinion.
Thank you.
With that being said, let me tear it down!
Pretty much, yeah. Really looking forward to doing this. But the fact that we're getting this after 4 years, 3-4 years, depending on when in 2019 it was, just fascinates me. I would love to know why is this taken so long? Let's jump into another question that we've had courtesy of Tony over on YouTube. What's a typing that you wish a Pokemon got over the one that it did get? Have you got any to kick us off?
I've got a couple.
Okay.
The big one I will always argue for is Lugia. Lugia should be a water dragon because of the lore that it is based off of. Because if you know the story of how Lugia was created, it wasn't created by... the actual story and lore around Lugia wasn't created by someone at Game Freak. It was created by the writer of the second movie. He came up with Lugia, and he based it off of I think it's the Queen of the Sea, Queen of the Tides, something like that.
It's funny that you say that, because Ho-Oh was originally going to be a Gen 1 Pokemon, wasn't it?
Ho-Oh was a leftover design from the Gen 1
That's
beta.
it. And I always had like a question of, well, like Lugia and Ho-Oh were the two mascots, so surely they would be designed at a similar time. You would think. So if it got left over, like why is like whenever people talk about the Gen 1 sprites and they got moved back and whatnot, Lugia's just not in the conversation. So it's interesting now that you've mentioned that and just having that knowledge of, oh, that explains why there's a bit of I feel like a disconnect between those two legendaries.
Yeah, there is, because Ho-Oh was supposed to be the only legendary of Gold and Silver, in the same way that Mewtwo was the only legendary of Red and Blue. So if you'd have the dogs, you'd have the beasts, but Ho-Oh would be the one main legendary.
Oh,
The
writer
created the writer created Lugia for the second movie, came up with the idea of this really powerful Pokemon who was based off of a sea dragon that was like Queen of the Sea, and was supposed to have all like motherly instincts and all this kind of stuff. They then took that Game Freak, did the designs, and decided this Pokemon's powerful. Powerful means psychic, so it's now a psychic Pokemon. And it's going to fly, and it's going to be with the birds. And it's like, okay, I thought it was a water dragon. You've made it a flying psychic type. And it's just not... It doesn't fit Lugia. The flying psychic has never really fit Lugia for me, given its lore, what it is, everything about it. That makes sense when you understand the story of its creation. So that's my big one. I think Lugia should be a water dragon rather than flying psychic.
And what I like about that is because like the only thing that when I think of Lugia, I think I can see why they gave it the psychic typing is that I'm pretty sure it's in the anime that it communicates via telepathy.
We've seen non-psychic Pokemon do that, though.
Well, that's it. That was going to be my point. Lapras can do it, which is water and ice type. So I don't get why they kind of shoehorn themselves into that, because we do have a water dragon type in Gen 2, which is Kingdra. And it's just annoying that, like, Kingdra is busted in Generation 2 because it doesn't have any weaknesses. It is absolutely broken. And so why would you not give that to a legendary just to cement it as this overly powerful Pokemon rather than give it a typing of Psychic that was mitigated in Gen 2 with the introduction of Dark types? It just feels so out of place for Lugia, unfortunately. So that fantastic answer. Really like that. None of mine are that in depth. So one of mine is as bizarrely, I've tried to go for Pokemon that maybe people don't really think about. Like this is because everyone would go to your typical like Electivire being electric fighting and Granbull fairy fighting. Like while they are, I agree with them, they're very safe answers to this. So I wanted to go for a couple that maybe don't feel so safe and might be a little bit out there. One of them is Garbodor. So it's a pure poison typing, which I always feel like it doesn't do it justice because because that doesn't separate it from Muck. And I know that Gen 5 was kind of like, oh, let's just take, there was
the replacement era.
Yeah. Ooh. But I would have added something slightly different. So I would have given it the ground typing. And the reason why is because in my mind, because it's constantly dragging itself around and it's gathering up all this rubbish off the floor. Like, I would have given it the poison ground typing just to set it apart. And I believe there is a poison ground typing, but I can't think of it off the top of my head if there is. Houndstone is another one, pure ghost type, except for we see multiple times in the game rise from the ground. So give that the ghost ground typing. And then the last honorable mention I've got is it's always annoyed me in X and Y that Xerneas is pure fairy and its counterpart Yveltal is dark flying. So Xerneas hard counters Yveltal, and I believe, in my mind, Xerneas should have been fairy grass because then fairy counters dark, but flying counters grass. And it brings in that whole balance of these two Pokemon. One's about life, one's about death. It always annoys me when they put two legendary Pokemon in a game, but one of them is overpowering the other one because of type advantage. So that's how I would have balanced out that. So they're my answers there.
Okay. I really like the Garbodor one. Because especially if we're talking about it's supposed to be trash and trash that is then polluting the world, it's seeping into the ground, guys. That's the big issue with it. Well, it's not. It's also in the oceans and things like that as well.
It's everywhere.
But that's
it's everywhere
depressing. That's depressing. We're moving on from that. The other one I would use is Umbreon. So, do you know what Umbreon's original typing was supposed to be?
Or no, I can make some guesses, but go on. What surprised me?
Supposedly in the beta, before Dark and Steel got added, because they were actually added fairly late into development, or at least Dark was, Umbreon was supposed to be a poison type.
I heard that before.
I think that would be awesome to just have a poison type Umbreon. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, no, agreed. It still annoys me that EVs haven't had more evolutions, but I can see that as a poison type. I can. And it's a really strange one, actually, because I feel like Dark also fits it.
Yeah, I think as a stall engine, poison makes more sense to me, which is what Umbreon's built to be. It's a defensive wall, effectively, well, especially defensive wall. And most of the time, what are you running on it? You're running Toxic anyway. So it would have been really fun.
I like that.
Especially seeing as by level up, Umbreon doesn't really learn that many good dark type moves anyway. I think you need to learn Bite on Eevee, otherwise Umbreon never learns it.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you've got a comment or question, you can reach us by leaving a comment on our podcast on YouTube, by emailing goldenrodpod@gmail.com, by leaving it on our Discord channel, by using the hashtag goldenrodpod on Twitter. Speaking of Pokemon typings, it's that time where we are doing Devil's Advocate, where we're discussing Game Freak should add a new Pokemon typing. So Conor is going to be arguing that they shouldn't add a new typing, whereas I'm going to be arguing that they should add a new typing. Conor, do you want to go first?
No. You've got to argue that they should add a thing. My argument is just that the game should stay as they are. They're perfectly balanced, and adding a new typing would just upset that balance, so why are we bothering? You've got to convince me otherwise.
Okay, right. So no pressure after after last week. As always, I just want to preface this that like we don't do any research before we do this, okay? No. This is kind of on the spot. So if you're screaming at us about something that you want to add to the conversation, like honestly, there's a reason why we want people to comment and question. So, like, give us your thoughts as well. So, here we go. I'm going to absolutely try my best as to why they should add a new typing. So, obviously, Generation 2 added some much-needed typings in Steel and Dark to mainly counter the issue that was Psychic typings. And then we saw that again in Generation 6, where Dragon Pokemon have become so abundant and so overpowered and overused, both in terms of every legendary seemed to be a dragon, and the meta at the time was Dragon Pokemon. So they countered that with Fairy typings. However, we're now at a point where, unfortunately, Fairies have become a little bit overpowered and a little bit unbalanced as well. And I feel like that is only going to get worse over time. And there needs to be another check put in place, because I feel like there are a number of Pokemon in that little sphere of Fairy, Steel, and Poison that while they counter one another, it feels like there's another typing missing in that to balance it out. So that's my starting argument, and I'll think up some more as we talk.
So two main arguments there. My first reaction to we got much needed ones with Steel and Dark. I actually don't know if they were much needed. So I understand that Psychic was kind of overpowered in Gen 1, right? That's a fact. That's you can't argue with that statement. Psychic was overpowered. But the problem wasn't necessarily that Psychic had no check. It was the fact that the checks that Psychic had no way of actually checking it. They messed up and Bug type didn't work properly, and there was like what, you had Twin Needle, and Ghosts had no effect. Is that the way it worked?
No, Ghost was effective against Psychic, but the only Ghost types they had also had the Poison typing, which was weak to Psychic.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that they one of these two didn't work the way it was supposed to.
Oh, okay.
And actually wasn't effective instead of super effective. And then the only other moves that were working properly were either really, really weak or did a fixed amount of damage. It was the same thing as like dragon types being super effective against dragon types makes no sense when the only dragon move is Dragon Rage.
I know, right? Yeah.
So I don't think they were much needed. I think that's a conflated argument and a bit of a stretch, really, when what they needed to do was rebalance Bug and Ghost. Give us more Ghost types that aren't poison types. Give us more Bug types that aren't poison types. Give them actually offensive stuff. And who knows, if we didn't add Dark and Steel to the game, maybe we wouldn't have really weak Bug Pokemon, because Bug Pokemon would have had to step up and would have had to build that meta around them. Same as when Fairies came out. There's an argument that Fairies needed it to come in because they needed to check dragons. Well, that's not really the issue. Yes, there was a lot of dragons in Pokemon, a lot of dragons in the high end of meta. They were some of the strongest Pokemon going, but it's not really down to their typing. It just happened to be that most of the strong Pokemon got the dragon type. So I don't think that adding Fairy was the real solution to that problem, because the solution to that problem is just take some of these dragons away, which they eventually started doing in Gen 8. 2 generations later, they took that option anyway. So now we have a bloated system already with far too many typings that nobody really understands all the interactions of, no matter how long you've been playing these games for. And you want to add another one to that? I mean, what do we add? The sound type? The space type? What feasibly is reasonable to bring into these games as an additional typing? And what is it you're trying to counter? You want to counter Fairy? But Fairy was your counter to Dragon. So if you counter Fairy, surely you're just raising Dragon back up. So it's a very difficult balance to create. And I don't think adding more sauce to the mix is really going to make it less saucy. It's a terrible it's a terrible metaphor, but there you go.
But, like, for me, we've already embraced the madness. We've already added 3 extra typings, which absolutely infuriates me that, like, okay, 6 generations in, and we've just discovered fairy typings, and, the changes to Pokemon that used to be normal and weak to fighting are now, they take neutral damage from not neutral, reduced damage from fighting. But if we might as well continue adding typings then, in my opinion. Like, every generation, give us a new typing, keep it entertaining, and it keeps updating the meta. Like, how many times have we complained about, we've watched, Pokemon competition, VGC, it's the same 5 or 6 Pokemon over and over again. Well, let's add new typings. Let's keep people on their toes. Let's keep updating the Pokemon that are available so that it just throws the competition wide open and gives Pokemon the opportunity to stand out that maybe haven't stood out in the past. Maybe we need to add a new typing that is super powerful, but it's weak to Bug. Like, seriously weak to Bug. And it'll give Bug the chance to shine, like you've said. Like, give these Pokemon an opportunity to shine by maybe not boosting them, because that also breaks the balance. But let's introduce more weaknesses. You can tell I'm clutching at straws here.
Yeah, no,
I
can.
Okay,
why would we introduce a whole new typing to make Bug stronger when we could just as easily make Fairy weak to Bug? If that's the issue that we're trying to solve, Bug's too weak, Fairy's too OP. Granted, it's a bigger issue than that, but if that's the problem we're trying to solve, well, then we just make Fairy weak to Bug. We've changed these before. Steel used to resist Dark. Metagross was OP as anything, and now Dark Moose hit it. So we have made these changes in the past. What's stopping us doing it again? I think throwing a new typing in there is just asking for trouble. And I don't think it gives us that many more options, really. I mean, what did Fairy really provide to us? A place to put all the cute Pokemon? That's the girly section. It made Pokemon less inclusive because they went, that's the frou-frou section. You go over there.
Yeah, Clefairy, definitely fairy. The Jigglypuff, definitely fairy. Yeah, I will admit they took all the feminine-looking ones and went, Yeah, they're fairy, aren't they?
Even God of War! God of War, they went, you know what? That's a fairy.
So, but what it did give us, though, is a chance for fairy, for example. Adding fairy allowed poison and steel that were often overlooked because steel was typically bulky and resisted a lot, but didn't hit hard. And poison was overlooked because it was just so easily countered. It gave those Pokemon or those typings a chance to shine because it gave them, okay, if the meta is, loads of dragon Pokemon, well, okay, I'm going to bring a fairy type Pokemon for balance to help me out. Well, okay, now I'm going to bring a poison steel type. And it gave us that extra layer of depth to bring as well. And I think one thing that we've always said about Pokemon is that we love the lore and the background around it. And like the world of Pokemon, outside of a handful of key events where research has led to a complete change. So, for example, Gen 2 suddenly finding about eggs. Gen 5, Gen 6, the fairy typing. Like, we could have this in-game lore of Pokemon typings aren't static. They evolve over time. And it might be that certain typings merge, for example. So water and ice, you could potentially have merging. Ground and rock are quite similar. You could potentially have them merging and create a new typing, which helps us to clear up some of the issues of, I will admit, there are too many typings. But it allows us to introduce it in a fresh, unique way that doesn't break the law of, 30 years of research as a Pokemon professor, and we just happen to find out there's a new typing. Like, bring it in a lore perspective, a bit like the trading card game does.
Okay, I'm glad you brought the trading card game up.
Where there isn't water and ice type, they're just classified as water. And even more egregious than that, fighting rock and ground all have one typing in the Pokemon trading card game, and it simplifies it in a way where, well, yeah, it just simplifies it.
It does, and I agree. But you're now arguing for taking typings out, not adding new ones. And let's not forget that you brought up the trading card game where they added fairy type into it and then took it away again. They were like, nah, we're just not going to print any more of those. Don't worry about it.
No. But I think the point's there, though, that maybe the way they add new typings isn't by just going, we've got 18 typings, let's add 19, let's add 20. It's, we've got 18 typings, let's simplify that down into 16 and merge a few of them. And then maybe it gives Pokemon a chance to shine, such as ice-type Pokemon, I feel are overlooked, unfortunately, because they are countered.
Yeah, they're glass cannons.
They are glass cannons. They're countered so much. And like the point you made earlier in terms of, bringing in fairy type, I don't think personally, I don't think they should have brought in fairy type. What they should have done is gone, let's improve ice typing. Like, that is because ice counters dragon. Like, that's what they should have done. So that's how they could and should address it moving forward. Is I can see your face. I'm
just letting you lose your own argument because you're still talking about taking away typings rather than adding one.
Merging typings into new typings.
Yeah, but why would you merge them into a new typing? You just remove one and throw everyone from one into the other. As you say, you just move all the ice type Pokemon into water type, and it's fine.
But I'm coming out from an amazing lore.
Or are you saying that ice and water both become like what, frost? It's the new frost typing.
Well, that one does make the most sense because, like, what is ice other than a variant of water?
No, I agree, but I'm still waiting for you to argue that the new type. What does the new frost type offer us rather than just moving ice type Pokemon into water? I just want to watch you struggle. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying this because I am struggling here. But from my perspective, it just keeps people on their toes.
All right, okay. It's just for variety.
So in
a game where we already kind of complain about getting a gimmick every generation, which is already pretty annoying. Let's face facts. You want them to change up the type chart, that thing that we never ever learned properly.
Because they need to simplify it.
Yeah, they need to simplify it by adding more.
Okay, Conor, let's let the suffering end. Come on, what's your closing argument?
No. I'm going to let you have your closing arguments and probably use that as mine. Let's face facts here.
So my closing argument is, unfortunately, There are many reasons that Conor is about to go over about why they shouldn't add new typing, but we all know that they should add a new typing. See, as long as I appear confident, Conor, that's the main thing. It's not whether I'm right. I just grift. Okay, I just need to sound confident.
This is YouTube, mate. This is how this works. Authoritative voice. Say it like you mean it. Say it like you know what you're talking about, and people will believe you.
So this is what my 10-minute essay on why Game Freak should add a new typing.
Feel attacked.
And that it would allow them to update the meta, keep it entertaining and fresh, and that's all I've got. Conor, help me.
Okay, new typings would be interesting. It opens up the idea of us getting a new style of Pokemon and re-seeing Pokemon from the past in a different way, rather than just doing regional variants, rather than just doing, these regional fakes or whatever you want to call them, the divergent species. Let's just see, as you say, Jigglypuff, Clefairy, Gardevoir. Let's see them in a new light. Mawile got a massive. Granted, it also got a mega, but the fact that it was fairy type was huge. However, we got enough types. Stop it. And you would have to seriously convince me that a sound type or a space type or any other type that you want to add doesn't just give me mechanical escalation, but also lore based. Why is that interesting? Why is there this energy that fluctuates the Pokemon world that is absorbed by these Pokemon and releases their energy? Like the Fae makes sense to me. Fae have been around forever. And we've had lore and magical stories about them forever. So having the Fae in there, great. Steel Pokemon, sure. We're in a world where technology is everywhere and is highly advanced. Are we saying something about Pokemon who take on a little bit of that advancement? I think so. Same as Dark Pokemon. You know, we were introduced to Pokemon. We were introduced to Team Rocket. The idea of evil Pokemon. Well, okay, let's show what evil Pokemon are. What does that mean when we create a typing for it? I don't think you've produced what a new typing should be that offers any of those answers. So at this point, I have to say no. We don't need one.
Okay. Thank you very much for providing my closing argument. Who do you think you what? Let us know in the comments down below, or by sending us a comment. And that was a really tough one to argue, because, like, I will admit, like, there are too many typings, and so many of them seem so close already.
The thing is, a lot of them do seem close, and we've seen in other games them have, so like ROM hacks and things like that, them have a different typing. So, for instance, I think Pokemon Uranium had like the nuclear typing, and that was more lore based on the region. You weren't going to find these nuclear Pokemon anywhere else because it was a self-contained game. So I think if they were going to do something like that, where it's a case of like, no, these are special Pokemon from this special location only, and don't expect this typing to be everywhere else, because they've also done like Delta species in the cards where you had like a Water Mew and Electric Dragonite and stuff like that. So I would find that very interesting to look up. The idea of like, these are Pokemon you know, but not how you know them. I guess we kind of get that with regional variants. We kind of get that with terrestrialization, but not to the same extent.
Okay. No, all valid points, and it is a strange one with the typings, because it like Gen 2, I was on board with Steel and Dark because it was like, it was still early game. They were trying to new. And Gen 5 always just threw me, because I've always just thought, okay, I get the argument why you added them, but it just irks me from an like in lore perspective of, okay, suddenly we've discovered this typing, and the weaknesses that the Pokemon had in the previous games aren't the weaknesses moving forward. Like, but how does that work in lore?
So it does work in lore, because it works in lore the same way that Mega Evolution works in lore, it being present in some of the games and not in the others. It's multiverse. Yeah. Every single game is a different universe. So in red, blue through to diamond and pearl, black and white 2. No, there weren't fairy type. There's in those universes, fairy type doesn't exist.
Oh,
it just doesn't. It's not a case of like, oh, it's unfortunate that you then have like things that are long running like the anime, where it is the same universe and quite clearly the same universe, and then it just becomes this newly discovered thing. Because it does. It begs the question of like, why did overnight my Machamp suddenly not be able to punch a Jigglypuff in the face? What happened there? Why did nobody be able to recognize that this wasn't a thing? I think they could have got around that if they said, here's an event that happened that caused fairy types.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't tie it to the ultimate weapon, obviously, but something of that caliber,
it could literally be just Xerneas coming into existence because it's like, oh, something's going on here, like precognition, like, oh, somebody's going to try and fire the ultimate weapon. I'm now going to reveal myself and put things into motion, perhaps. Or,
it'd be beautiful to have this idea of like, fairy energy is specifically contained within this one Pokemon. As soon as it woke up, it was released on the world. And it awoke in, it becomes the mutant gene. It awoke in all these people who were mutants all along, but they needed this event to happen for it to awaken, kind of thing.
I love that. I love that idea. Conor, are you up for playing a game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, Ace. In front of me, I have 3 Pokemon with 3 Pokedex entries each, but can Conor spot the fake entry? So we're kicking off this week with Granbull. Entry number 1. Granbull has a particularly well-developed lower jaw. The enormous fangs are heavy, causing the Pokemon to tip its head back for balance. Unless it is startled, it will not try to bite indiscriminately. Entry number 2. Its jaw can produce a bite force of 1,800 psi, enough to break bones and snap wooden planks in two. And the third and final entry, it is actually timid and easily spooked. If attacked, it flails about to fend off its attacker.
I'm drawn to the third one. No explanation. I'm just drawn to the third one.
Okay. Is that your answer? You're locking it in?
Yes.
I'm afraid it's the second one.
Wow. Fair play to you.
Thank you. Which is strange because that third one just goes against everything I imagine about Granbull.
It's a very simplistic entry as well.
Like, it's timid and easily spooked, and then it just flails about. But that goes against all the artwork I've ever seen of Granbull, where it's always like, you know, head down, fists up, jaw out.
It's the British Bulldog look of, hey.
Yeah.
I imagine that's the noise it makes.
That is spot on. That you should get on in the recording studio for the latest Pokemon anime or the games. I'm considering it. Okay. Pokemon number 2 is Xerneas. Entry number 1. Legend says it can share eternal life. It slept for 1,000 years in the form of a tree before its revival.
Yep.
Entry number 2. When the horns on its head shine in 7 different colours, it is said to be sharing everlasting life. Yep. And the third and final entry, Xerneas appears where death blankets the land. With its mystical powers, it restored the life of those lost.
That third one. I am convinced I've read those first two.
Okay. I'd imagine, yeah. So you're right. It is the third one. And I always knew this was going to be a difficult one because of like when you've spoken about life energy and stuff like that in the past. I was like, chances are you have read these Pokedex entries. So
yeah, this is I dove quite deep into this one when I was looking at the AZ weapon causing Kogita to be immortal.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that one. So well done. So you have 50% of the Pokedex entries right. So let's see if that drops to 33 or rises to 66. So the third and final Pokemon is Houndstone. Entry number 1. It haunts the outskirts of towns and cities. It will not enter a person's home until it has developed a strong bond with the owner. Entry number 2. Houndstone spends most of its time sleeping in graveyards. Among all the dog Pokemon, this one is most loyal to its master. And entry number 3. A lovingly mourned Pokemon was reborn as Houndstone. It doesn't like anyone touching the protuberance atop its head.
Yeah, so I know that third one's real. I remember that one. Was that second one about the loyalty?
Yes. Among all the dog Pokemon, this one is most loyal to its master.
I feel like that's correct, because I feel like I remember reading that, again, when I was doing my Ghost Pokemon study. I'm pretty sure I read that, and I was like, excuse me? Most loyal dog Pokemon. So I think it's the first one.
It is. Congratulations! Okay. 2 out of 3 correct. Well done.
This is much easier when I've actually read the Pokedex entries.
Oh, yeah, agreed. Completely agree. What's this ghost one? I don't think I've seen this one.
It's not out. So I'm doing a study of what ghost Pokemon are. And more importantly, what ghosts are in Pokemon. Because we have human ghosts, we have Pokemon ghosts, but we also have ghost types. What's the difference? What is the afterlife? How much is that actually being explored throughout sort of the anime, the manga, the series? Yeah, it's a whole, and we're obviously, because I like to bring in real world references in that. I'm looking at Japanese lore about ghosts and different yokai and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one.
Wow! I am looking forward to that. Keep me in the loop on that. And that's the show for this week. If you've gotten this far, you're just top dollar, aren't you? Conor, where can we find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at Captain Fidget or on Twitter at CapFidget.
I'm Ben. You can find me as Professor Hoenn Gaming on YouTube and Professor Hoenn on Twitter. As for the Goldenrod Podcast, you can find us on the usual platforms. Search for Goldenrod Podcast on YouTube or on your usual podcast app. Leave a like on YouTube or a 5-star review if you're listening as a podcast. We'll be back next Friday for another week of Pokemon podcast content.
See ya!